Breedinum Radio, brought to you by Pertinier Outdoors, your source for all things deer hunting and the rut here in New York State, right in your backyard, so you can get up in the stand and pound them all season long.
Big Jim.
It's like Willie.
What, are you tired?
No, just trying to kick this cold, man.
Oh, you got a cold. Well, it's time for Breeding Radio, so wake up.
Yeah.
My voice is all hoarse from doing Breedinum Radio. I can't do it
riding
anymore.
around on mopeds all day. That's what your voice is hoarse from.
Yeah, it's a hard life, Jim. It's a hard life.
I don't know how you do it.
Got to do it. I don't know either. So let's kick this thing off. First episode of Breedinum Radio, and so we're excited to bring it to you. Breedinum, yeah.
Breedinum.
So we've got on this episode, we've got a kill story from Greg Stanton from Avon, New York. We've got a kill story from John Peterson from Lancaster, New York, out in Buffalo. And we've got a trigger story from the one and only Brian Kirsch about a Pertinier killed him story. So you got three different. You do?
No, you got to have one of those in there. You know the Pertinier.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. It can't be all whacking and stacking. It's got to be some shooting and missing. That's part of the game.
Yeah, you'd know all about that this year.
Yeah, sure do, Jim. Thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate it. That's what brothers are for. Real nice.
Yeah. Hey, and it's still 1-0, so I'm waiting on you.
It is 1-0. Just lulling you to sleep, Jim. Just lulling you to sleep. I'm going to come out of nowhere. Just yeah.
I'll be waiting for it.
I bet you will. So that's what we've got on the docket here. So we're what the game plan is we're going to, I mean, hopefully we have every week like this where we've got several people that we know that had success and we can share, they can share their story and kind of lay out kind of what their setup was, why they believe they had the success, and then, maybe what they would recommend somebody be doing in the upcoming weekend in that area or somewhere in New York. So that's the game plan. We've got like maybe 6 or 8 guys that we've talked to, some families, some friends, some people we've connected with through Pertinier Outdoors on social media, primarily Instagram. So we'll be bringing those guys along as we get into the weeks of the season. So that's the game plan.
Sweet
so
deal.
What happened with you over the weekend? I guess we'll both recap our adventures quick and then on to the stories.
Really spent the weekend trying to get over the cold. And, it was 5-year anniversary, so did some work around the house and spent some time with the wife. And Sunday morning I got out. Beautiful morning. I did not see anything, but I also got off a stand a little early because Dad hit a doe. We had to go track that. So Sunday for me was not much, and I'd actually talked to Greg, one of the guys here that's going to tell his story Sunday morning, and he had texted me to see what was going on. He said same thing with him. So I don't think a whole lot happened on Saturday. I mean, you had some action, but by the sounds of it, Monday was the day. And I made it out Tuesday, so last night I made it out. I went to some state land, and I just tried a quick hang and hunt. I used my muddy harness. It's kind of like a saddle. Used a lineman's belt and a couple of climbing sticks, and I bought one of those 2-seat platforms that you bought. And I was on the backside of some state land overlooking tons of private farm fields, hay, beans, a little bit of corn. But I saw almost all bucks. One of them came out close. It was a little 6-point. The rest came out 400 or 500 yards away on the edge of another bean field there. And I saw 2 of them were good ones. And the one came right out of the woods making a scrape. But none of them fought or anything. You could tell they were kind of posturing around, but mostly just out there crushing beans and enjoying the nice evening, which, spent a lot of time in the woods in the past years, and I have not seen so many nice bucks on their feet this early in the season, especially so many taken. It's very impressive so far.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it has to do something. Everybody I've talked to, and then you start looking at it. I mean, we had a really solid cold front that came through. We had pretty much a frost a couple mornings in a row. You had a full moon. And then another thing I think played into it as well is that there was a lot of east and south winds. And then Monday, we finally had a wind that had quite a bit of west in it, and there was a little bit of southwest. So, that's our prevailing wind around here. We get a lot of southwest winds in western New York. And you almost have to wonder if a lot of those bucks, finally the wind was back to its normal activity. And if, who knows? There could be a million different reasons why those deer were up, but just guys being in spots that they typically hunt, maybe a little bit later in season when they get closer to the rut, and those deer, they were on their feet early. The buck that John shot, it was early. The buck that Greg shot, you'll hear his story, but it was early. And the buck that Brian got a shot at last night, that was pretty early. The deer were up and on their feet. That buck wasn't out until a little bit later, but definitely interesting to see for sure. So, yeah, that's cool. You had some decent action when you got out, and they're definitely hammering on the food pretty good yesterday for you. And I got out Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday morning this past weekend. And I guess the biggest thing for me was just the deer were feeding heavily. And especially Sunday, I hunted some property that we have access to. It's actually a nature conservancy piece, and I was hunting on that. And I've never hunted this early there in season, and I've never hunted low on the hill. I've always gone to the top of the mountain and just thinking, get the furthest you can from the road, yada, yada. And so Sunday, I just decided I would run up, and I got in there about 45 minutes before the sun came up, pitch dark, didn't jump any deer up into the woods, and I just was walking, had no plan as to where exactly I was going. I just got where a couple logging roads come together, and I went up on that side hill about 20 yards above that, just found a straight tree and ran up it. And I ended up seeing over 10 deer. It's kind of tough with the foliage. I believe my watch is talking to me, wants to know more about my deer hunt on Sunday. So, yeah, I ended up seeing 3 does and a decent buck. I would probably guess he was a 2.5-year-old, definitely bigger than a yearling. So I'm thinking he was a 2.5-year-old. Actually pushing the does around pretty aggressively. He grunted once at him. The does didn't seem to want to have anything to do with him, but he was definitely on his feet and cruising. Whether he was headed back to his bed and he came across those does feeding, but they were up and on their feet, well after the sun came up. And then I had around 8:30, 8 o'clock in between there, I had 7 does come feeding by me. Really wanted to get a shot, and it's kind of been, I find in reflecting on this, I've been pressing very hard. I think that's something I need to chill out. I need to take a breath. And every time a deer comes by, I don't have to be locked in to try to shoot it. And I blame it on Brian.
Kill them all.
No, thanks, Jim. You're not helping my problem. I need to chill out. I need to take a breath. And, I'm very anxious right now. And I don't know what that is, if it's because, I've had a couple misses and I'm feeling the pressure to get something in the cooler. What the deal is, I'm not sure, but I need to just relax. No one cares whether I shoot something or not. I need to chill out in the stand and let the deer come to me, and the opportunities will present themselves. So that's my takeaway from the weekend. The deer are out there. I'm putting myself in great situations. I'm really enjoying, I think, you as well, a lot of us that we hunt with, or, the guys that we associate with, everybody's getting super aggressive, which is pretty fun, and a lot of bouncing around to different areas and trying out some different stuff and not sitting in the same spot multiple sits in a row. And I would say, I don't know if you agree with me, but I mean, it's been an eye opener to me how fresh the activity's been. I mean, the deer have just, they're there. Like almost every sit's been a good sit. I don't know if you feel the same way, but
yeah, I mean, I hunted that property line stand at camp both Sunday mornings I've been up there so far, and I was telling myself when I was going there this weekend, I was like, you hunted it last weekend, you got winded out of it. I'm like, you got to go try something else. And those does are on such a pattern up there that I was like, oh, I'll go try it again, see if I can get a shot on one of them does. And, of course, nothing showed up. If I'd have stayed later, maybe they would have, but I think I should have stuck with a gut feel there and kept switching it up because there's plenty of spots that you can go. You don't need to go to the same one every time. But I mean, we got the cell camera in our middle meadow there. I've been posting some pictures. I mean, the does are scent checking the scrape nonstop, and the bucks are starting to get bigger, and we got a couple of nice 2.5-year-old 8 points that keep on hitting it. And then we had one show up there that I posted this morning, kind of a goofy-looking buck. I don't know. I've never seen him before, but, I mean, the one brow tine, and if you look, I didn't post all the pictures because they weren't great, but a couple different angles, it looks like he's got almost like a split brow tine on that one side where the one comes straight up and tall. Looks like there's another one that comes out the back in the same spot. So he's a screwy buck, but, I mean, starting to get some bigger buck on their feet now, and we don't normally get bucks hanging on our property. So once we start seeing the big boys showing up, then it's starting to get to be that time.
Yep. It is almost time. I suspect we're going to have a week or so here where it's a little bit quiet, I believe. Just because
I think that's going to
like
depend a lot on the temperatures, though.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if it stays cool like this, I mean, I don't remember a season like this where it started so cool and stayed so cool. I mean, I don't know if the deer are packing it on so much because they know the winter that's coming or what. But, I mean, it's unreal how all the deer have been on their feet and feeding. It's not like you're just seeing does and stuff like you normally do. It's good bucks and broad daylight out feeding.
Yeah, it's a good point. Very good point. That's definitely something to watch and keep track of for sure. So, well, what's your game plan for this weekend? And then let's wrap this up so we can hear some stories and share them with everybody.
I am heading up north Friday, pull some trail cameras and probably set a stand or move a stand. And Saturday is the opener for muzzleloader up there. So they got.
When you say up north, be a little bit more descriptive there for the northern zone, which is the Adirondacks region.
Right up around the Boonville area, just south of Boonville, getting into the mountains there a little bit. I have yet to take a deer in the mountains, so I'm excited to get up there and try to get that done. And obviously the pressure's off with having my buck on the ground already, so I can just get up there and run around and try to find a nice doe to shoot. A lot of apples up there in that area that we're hunting, so shouldn't be hard to find. It's just a matter if I can get a good shot on one or not. So.
Is bear season open as well?
I know it runs with their archery season, and I gotta believe it switches to the early muzzleloader too. I gotta double check, but we're hoping so because there's been a few bears on camera in that area up there. So.
Yeah, I would think with apples and stuff, you'd have a decent chance there.
Yeah, we started a couple of years ago doing this, going up there for early muzzleloader. Uncle Tim's got a camp up there by my in-laws, and my father-in-law goes out and hunts with me. So it's a good time. We're looking forward to it, and hopefully we can get something on the ground this year.
Absolutely. So as for myself, probably going to be a challenging weekend to get out too much. Tomorrow is my wife. Tomorrow the 30th. Tomorrow the 17th is my wife's 30th birthday. So we'll be celebrating some of that stuff this weekend. So I'll probably sneak out for a couple evening hunts and maybe even a morning hunt on Sunday. And our beloved Buffalo Bills are home on Sunday. They've got 3 straight home games here in the end of October and the first week in November. So we got to focus on getting our team to the playoffs. So that's what I'll be doing Sunday afternoon. Hopefully the hunting isn't good and the bills are squishing the fish. So that's what's happening,
your
man.
Priorities are at, you know.
I know, Jim. I'm torn.
I mean, this is
torn.
telling me right here that you gotta kill every deer you get the opportunity at, you know. Sitting there telling yourself you gotta sit back and relax, and I don't know. I mean, you're spending all this time going to these Bills games, and you know, just staying out of the woods. It's not good. You gotta get in there and kill something.
All right. I don't need to talk to you anymore. I gotta go.
Well,
I gotta go.
Happy 30th to Sarah, and keep feeding them.
Oh, we'll feed them.
Feeding them.
Breedinum Radio.
Breeding them. Feeding them.
Yeah. All right.
See you,
buddy. I'm sure we'll talk to you. See ya.
All right.
Greg?
Hey, Bill.
What's up? You big
You there,
buck
bud?
killer, you. I'm here.
Yeah. What's going on?
You're
So
going
you-
on, man.
I'm going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a nice one last night. It was fun. It was a great
did.
night. Yeah.
You did. So you're the first official report on Breedinum Radio. How does that feel?
That's awesome. What a privilege.
Yeah. You earned it. I mean, you really
Big
did.
time, buddy. Big time.
Yeah. Yeah. Greg, you big time.
Sweet.
So I wanna get the story live action from you. You know, kind of
Let's do
start us out like you kind of started going into it this morning. But so how did this thing all go down?
Yeah, so it was cool. I mean, I haven't been out a lot, and I really wanted to get out. And I think she wasn't a record breaker, but she was cool because as you know, you got a little young son, and I took Brian for a walk around the corn on Saturday, which I shouldn't have done, but I did it anyways because I wanted to. And we were walking, and we were walking by the woods where a couple of my stands are, and then all of a sudden there stands a big buck where I'm telling Brian, there's big bucks in here, man, and he saw it and just got giddy as can be, and it was really cool, and he was excited. So I went out last night when I got out of work and thought, I might get lucky because I let it be for a couple days, got in nice and quiet. I jumped a couple does, getting chased around by a little buck walking in, and it was a quick hunt, and I was in there probably 20 minutes just hanging out, and I knew if he was where I saw him, he was going to be pretty close to me. It was pretty thick. They just logged this area where I was in, and so the undergrowth was nice and thick, and so I was in there probably 20 minutes, and I just hear this low, deep grunt, like he was right on top of me, and I'm like, God, he is super close. I started glassing, and I saw him bedded down maybe 40 yards away.
So he was grunting from his bed?
He was grunting. He was laying down, and he just grunted. Just once, just a low, deep grunt, and I'm like, all right.
Wow.
Yeah, and he just hung out. So I watched him for maybe like 40 minutes, and he got up out of the thicket, messed around a little bit, came into range. I ranged him at about 24 yards. He took a couple steps, and when I shot, I thought it was low. He was quartered away, but I just had that rage, and it like filleted his side open, so he started running, and there was like a 8-inch chunk of meat hanging down, so I thought I hit him in the belly, but it was a good shot. It just filleted his side open into his lungs, and he ran 40 yards and dropped.
Oh, my God.
And, yeah, so it was just really cool because Brian and I saw him, and then I went out a couple days later and shot him and, called him and told him I got the big buck, and he was giddy as can be, excited for deer sausage in the morning.
Nice. That's awesome.
So it was cool. It was extra special.
What was this up by Dream Valley?
Yeah, it was up in the flat, on the big woods there by Dream Valley.
Okay.
In between the two ridges there on the top there.
Yeah. So
like they run around in there like crazy.
Yeah. Well, in there is it kind of like you got the big woods and you got that. So I'm trying to kind of lay out, like figure out what your setup is. Your tree stand on the edge of the woods? Is it kind of in near the thick stuff? Or?
So So where it's at, it's the south end of the woods, and there's the two ridges on the east and west side. And I've got my stands, kind of in a triangle on the east side, the west side of the tree line, a couple 100 yards apart in both corners, and then I got one in the center, maybe 200 yards in. So I've got like a big triangle on the flat there because they just run those ridges during the rut. And it gets pretty wild. And they just logged it not long this spring. So the undergrowth is growing in pretty good. I think next year it'll be even thicker. And so they were in there and busy and running around.
So you got standing corn still there, right? Is there beans up there too, or just corn?
Standing corn to the south, winter wheat to the east, and beans on the west.
Wow. And then
so there are options. What's that? Say it again.
There's oaks in there with acorns too, right? Are they producing?
Yeah, the acorns are pretty heavy this year.
Jeez. So what a spot that is right now. My God.
It's perfect. I know. Like the rut in there is going to be pretty crazy, I think.
You won't have to worry about that.
No. I'll go in and watch everybody, watch all the big guys run.
Right.
So hopefully somebody else get in there and get a monster.
That's awesome.
So the last 2 years I've been in there and I've seen huge deer, and I had the one was the last year I had a huge 8-point. I had it draw on him. I needed one more step. He's behind an oak tree, and he just, I don't know if he winded me or what, but it was nice to get one.
So in the spot you were in last night was because I think last night was like a southwest wind. Is that right?
Yeah.
So do you think the wind played a factor there?
Perfect. Wind was perfect. I was just north of him, so I came in and I was probably 40 yards to the north of him, and blowing southwest, and he walked like right at me, and then went to the east. So I mean, he didn't even know I was there.
Where was he headed? Was he headed to?
He was headed northeast.
Towards like food, or do you think he was getting up on his?
He was heading towards bedding ground. Bedding and the winter wheat.
Okay.
Because all the does hang out on the east side there.
So he might have been going over to. You had him grunting, and you had a couple other deer grunting. So maybe he was going over there to see what was going on.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm assuming. He was going to find the does. I thought it was a little early, but
yeah, but I mean, there was something in yesterday. Whether I know, like, I think last night was pretty much the full moon, and
yeah.
So whether the moon had something to do with it, or if it was they had that kind of that cold front that came through. I don't know if the cold front would have been, because yesterday it never really got warm yesterday. It was in the upper 40s.
It was the upper 40s when I went out. I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bitter.
Yeah.
But there was a young buck, like when I was walking my stand, there was a young, small little buck harassing a couple does, so it's always a good sign, I guess.
That is a good sign. That there's something in the air that got them worked up this weekend for sure, because last night one of the guys I hunt with out here in the Buffalo area, he shot a dandy 10-point. I got the picture from you, and then he sent the picture like 45 minutes later.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk to him and find out his story. But your buck, that's a mature buck, and then the deer he shot, John thinks that deer might be 5 years old.
Really? Wow.
And maybe 4, but he thinks he's got pictures of him from several years. So, I mean, something got those deer, to have 2 good bucks in the same area generally on their feet in the daylight. Something was going on.
Yeah, it was. There was something. A couple guys have shot him, and I know Jim said I think he's got the sheds from him last year.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see those, because just to kind of see what he because those sheds. I remember seeing those sheds last year, So it'll be interesting to kind of put him next to him and see what he put on for tines.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, buddy. Well,
yeah, man, it was fun. I had a blast.
What time was it when he popped out?
I shot him at about 5:15.
Wow.
I mean, I wasn't in the stand an hour.
That's amazing.
It was quick.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was good. I was probably sitting there for like 15 minutes just getting settled in, and when I saw him. So.
And
so
there, how long? Yeah, I'm here. How long were you in your stand before you heard him grunt? Because you said he grunted pretty early.
Yeah, no, I was just getting settled in, probably 15 minutes, and I heard him grunt, and that's when I started looking for him when I found him. So, and I probably just had I had glass on him for half hour or so maybe before he got up.
On a level of 1 to 10, where was the buck fever at?
Oh man, I don't think it was very high, to be honest with you. He was pretty calm. I mean, he was.
How are you? I don't care about the deer.
How am I? I'm good now. I was jacked up last night. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy. Yeah.
No, I'd be wound up too.
I'm nervous. What I am is I'm nervous because I got a pack full of ice and I want to get them cut up and get some of that deer sausage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Where are you hanging them, in the barn?
Yeah, I got them in the barn. I'm gonna take them, get them cut up tonight. But I've been nervous all day. I don't like that. It's like 66 degrees out.
Yeah, but it should be cool in that barn. It got cold last night, so you should be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, that's good. I'm pumped. I'm jacked, you know.
That's
for my
awesome,
little buddy, because Brian came out in the middle of the night, got the gator pulling in the yard, and he was all jazzed up, man. Huge smile. That's what makes it worth it, you know.
That's what it's all about, man. Well, I'm happy for you. Congratulations, and now you're out of the field for 6 weeks, 6 weeks. So
that's all right.
Enjoy that family time, because it'll be coming back around here middle of November.
Hey, I'm gonna be ready to rock. I'm gonna get some eyes out on everything, I think.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing to be a man without a tag, because you're gonna know where everything is.
That's perfect. Well,
Yep.
Hey, thank you for having me on. First one, right?
Yeah. First
Knocked it
one.
out of the park.
First one, best one. It's in the
Awesome.
books.
Sweet,
All right, buddy. Congratulations, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, buddy. You be good.
Yeah, you too. See ya.
See ya.
I'm sitting here with John Peterson. He was one of the gentlemen that was successful earlier this week on, is that Columbus Day?
It was Columbus Day.
I didn't have the day off, so to me it was just another day. But for you it wasn't. You whacked a good one.
Did whack a good one on Columbus Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the story begins with my decision to go to that stand. So history has kind of shown that this stand has been very active on Columbus Day. We have some theories that go into it, but I guess that's for another time. But regardless, I'm heading out to Iowa November 1st, and I made.
You are?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. You hiding that from us?
No, everybody knows that, except for you.
I didn't know that. You didn't tell me.
Yeah, so Iowa November 1st to the 11th. It's going to be a DIY state property hunts. We're taking hang and hunt systems and just scouting from OnX, and we got a place set up between 3 state properties that we've kind of been making waypoints at. We're going to put some boots to the ground, do some scouting the first day or two in there, and hit it hard for hopefully 6-7 days of hunting.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
where are you going?
Me and my brother-in-law Mike.
Sweet.
And his brother Casey, so 3 guys all together.
Cool.
But anyways, going into this, the reason I brought up Iowa is because this hang and hunt system is brand new to me. And I made a vow that I wasn't going to use anything except my XOP and my Helium Hawk hang-on sticks just to get acclimated with them until Iowa. So it would make it that much more seamless when I was there. But I broke that vow, and I'm pretty happy I did, and I based that decision upon a history of Columbus Day in this stand. It was 2015. I harvested a nice 8-pointer out of that stand on Columbus Day. And the year before that, missed opportunity was 2 shooters came through as I was climbing down. I climbed down a little bit too early, and I didn't make that mistake again. And I was face to face with a really nice 9-pointer about 5 yards in front of me, halfway down the tree.
Nice.
So, taking into consideration the day, the elements, it was probably going to get down in the upper 40s, mid 40s. That afternoon it was overcast all day. It was a cold front, and the full moon was the night before. Just all the elements were there for that to be an active spot. So I made the decision to hunt that spot, and got in about 4:30, 4:45. I knew it was going to be a short hunt, and I could hear deer all around me. With this time of year in New York, obviously there's a lot of foliage. It's still, the canopy is still very full, and this is a very brushy area, so my shooting lanes are limited, and vision is very limited as well. So yeah, I heard some animals walking around. Just figured I'm not going to get to any of the calls. I'm just going to let them do their thing. I kind of set up. My setup is in between. It's in between bedding and feed. So I was hoping on late night travel, and with all the commotion, I started to hear something behind me, and it was walking pretty consistently like bucks do. I always say that bucks walk with purpose, and it was a consistent walk. And call me crazy, but I swear to God, I heard antlers hitting limbs as it was coming through the brush. So before I even had any sight of the animal, I was at full draw. So I was at full draw while I was still walking through the brush.
Nice.
With my arrow pointing in the direction that they were coming. And I don't know, I would say I was at full draw for a good minute and a half. And then this buck.
So one of those situations, like when he popped out, he was going to be right there.
Yeah,
so
he was. I put the pin on my 50. I put it right between my 15 and my 25 pin, so I guesstimated 20 yards.
Yeah.
And the deer walked out, saw his head and his horns right away, knew it was the shooter immediately. He literally walked out, took 2 steps, bleated at him, stopped. I put a perfect shot on. I saw the fletching berry right behind his right shoulder, and maybe got a little too animated because for some reason time slowed down until that moment, and I saw that fletching disappear behind his shoulder and a clean pass through. And like I said, I got a little animated when I probably should have stayed calm and cool, where the deer took 2 bounds, and I wasn't even watching him or realized where he was, but he took 2 bounds and stopped right underneath me. He would have died right there had I not given him a little hoot.
Did you give him the old Dallas Ric Flair?
Oh yeah, it was something along those lines. And so I did that, and then he takes off again, and lo and behold, here comes another shooter that jumped out right behind him. So had I not been animated, I probably would have got a good look at the next buck that came through. I could just see that he was wide, heavy-horned, shooter for sure. I just couldn't see how tall the points were or how many, but live and learn. But I was very, very confident in that shot, probably more confident than I've been with any shot on a buck.
That's awesome.
And so got my nephew, my brother-in-law, and one of my neighbors. We tracked him. He actually went quite a ways. But my nephew's 12 years old. He's just getting into hunting, and I let him and my one neighbor who's just getting into hunting as well, I let them take the lead on the blood trail, and they ended up finding the deer.
Nice.
And it went maybe 100 yards. It ended up passing through both lungs, front of both lungs, and that was it. I was surprised. I knew he was a good buck, but I had no idea how big he was. But he was surprised to see that he was nice, high stack 10-point.
So I guess with the setup, you were kind of explaining what it was. So I talked to my buddy Greg. He got one Monday night as well. So just to kind of review what your setup was, and with that stand, you're pretty close to bedding, it sounds like.
Yeah, there's bedding all around there. It's a real brushy area. It's all federal wetlands.
Okay.
So it's
now, were you up in Erie County, or were you up here?
Yeah, Lancaster, Erie County.
Okay.
And it's tough because if you can find a spot on the ground, you might get some shooting lanes, but the problem is with these trails is they're all over the place. There isn't just one dedicated trail in these real brushy areas. They're just everywhere. So it's kind of hard to dedicate a spot to where their pathways are going to narrow, that you can get that pinch. So this area I have is one of very few opportunities to get any shooting lanes, and I can maybe shoot out to 25 yards, maybe possibly 30, but only in one direction. I got 15-yard shooting lanes and maybe 3 other spots, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Very limited.
Which, in a way, that's kind of nice with archery, and especially this time, or early season, because you're really not going to get a whole lot of opportunities more than that anyway.
Right.
So it kind of nice to limit your windows of shooting. So that's cool. And food-wise around there, is there like ag near there, or is there oaks, or?
So there are oaks on the property. They would be a little bit more to the east, not necessarily where I'm hunting. There's some red oaks. It's not an abundance of them, but there are some in there. It's a ton of browse. I mean, there's a lot of briars. This time of year, they like to munch on the briars. We had a few frosts, and after that, they really like to munch on the briar leaves. And it's suburban, so they're literally eating people's landscaping flowers. And there's a school that's not too far from me either, and that's usually where they go at night to feed in the grass at the school.
Okay.
So,
interesting. So you think he was up and moving? Do you think he was going to check? Because I know that the other folks I've talked to, the deer they saw, the bucks they witnessed this weekend and Monday night in particular, they were either grunting or they were actively going to look for does and pushing does.
With these guys being bachelored up, I don't get the impression that they were dogging does by any means. And by the looks of it, like this guy, I have pictures of him as a 2 and 3 year old. I believe he's 4 years old this year. He didn't look like he was bound for anything, and the wind didn't work for him either to try to pick up anything that might have been in a bed, especially with the proximity where I'm pretty sure the does that I heard went through earlier. I didn't see him. I'm just assuming it was does by the way that they walked through.
Right.
These bucks, these bucks would have been downwind of the does. So yeah, it's hard to say, but no, I don't get the impression just by the way they were acting. They're just kind of walking through. I think they were just going to feed, and especially considering that they're still bachelor up.
Right, exactly. All right, I guess the last thing I'd ask you, if you were, you don't have to go out and hunt this weekend, but if you were to give somebody advice on where to go this weekend based off of what you witnessed Monday or this past weekend and Monday night when you shot this buck, would you say, it looks like a similar weather pattern for this weekend, so would you say hunt food, hunt bedding, in between? What are you thinking?
I think early season's always good to hunt bedding, mainly because they're not up and chasing yet. I don't think that, they've been sparked to chase those does that are hot. I don't think they're even close yet. And I don't doubt that there's going to come a little bit of lull between now and early November. Approaching my hunt, I was really looking at, I try to go when there's 3 elements. With the moon, with the cold weather, and the cold front that was there, and you had the overcast as well. They're all good elements for deer moving in general, not just bucks up on their feet, but I think there's deer moving in general. To be honest, after I killed my buck, I wasn't really looking at the forecasts or trying to do my homework to see what days I'm going to get out there next, but I would say moving forward for the next few weeks until, that prime time, November 1 comes around. I'm not sure. I think when is the next full moon? Is it the 10th of November?
Yeah,
I think.
It's the 10th of November.
10th of November. So
I
would say
the same thing because
I would say right after that next new moon is when it's going to get hot again. So we got a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I love hunting the moons. I've killed a lot of deer either the day before, the day of, or the day after a full or new moon. So I kind of swear by those, and that's one of the elements I take into consideration when I go out, or I try to dedicate time to go out, I should say.
That's good intel, good input. So, wrap it up. Good luck. I didn't know you were going to Iowa, so pumped for you. That sounds like it should be a pretty awesome experience one way or the other.
Yeah.
To be out there early November.
Got the monkey off my back early, so
yeah, you did.
It's going to make it that much easier going out there.
It's a good and a bad thing to shoot one early, but it's definitely a monkey off the back. You got one in the cooler and a nice one at that. So
yep, absolutely.
Congrats, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Trigger.
Lucky,
Trigger.
how you doing, buddy?
Oh,
Lucky.
I'm in the road. Oh, I'm here. I'm in the middle of Dutch Hollow. All right, let's pretend you haven't already started telling me the story. So how are you? What's happening?
Well, I'm stagnant for a week or so.
Yeah.
So just kind of sitting here watching a TV that's not playing any TV because I don't have anything to watch on it. And I thought I would tell you my little hunting story from tonight. But
yeah, so we've been disconnected like 5 times, and now I'm standing in the middle of a county road trying to get cell service.
Yep. All right. So here's the short and the
Yeah, give it to us. What happened?
Well, I've been itching for a southeast wind,
Yeah.
and I also ordered some new set of climbing sticks. So they came in today. I got home, unwrapped them, kind of not really sure I'm very happy with my selection or anything, but get a southeast wind. I want to get in the backside of the food plot. So I take my drill, all my other steps, my old way of doing it, my new climbing sticks, my stand.
Wait, so I didn't catch that the first time. So this is the second time through the first part of the story. So you carried both your climbing sticks and your screwing sticks? Or screwing
I had
stuff?
everything. I had it all with me because I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah. Usually
and it
you
was,
don't.
I didn't know what kind of tree I was going to go in. Plus, it was windy here at the farm.
Right.
So I thought if I, threw a stick up and then had a spot for a peg or two, I would drill one and throw one in. But when I got up there, it was quiet, like way too quiet. Like it was too quiet for me to do anything.
Yeah.
So
what time did you get in? What time did you get back in there?
I left the commander at 3:40.
Okay.
So, it wasn't as early as I would have liked to.
Right.
But I flew in there. So it seemed like it took me forever, but by the time I was in the stand with an arrow nocked, sitting down, it was 4:10. So really I probably had almost a 10-minute walk.
Right.
And then so it probably took me 20 minutes to set up. But yeah, I took the pegs because I didn't know, maybe I would do some drilling or whatnot. It's quicker and easier to drill a hole and throw the peg in.
Yeah.
So you got to.
But it makes noise.
Yeah, you got to have noise cover. But I made a lot of noise with those freaking straps and the new. It's just, it wasn't bad, but it's something you need to fine tune. And I got them at 2:30 today, and at 10 to 4, I was going up a tree with them.
Right.
So not a lot of. All I did was look at them, and I strapped them onto my stand.
Yeah, it's the best way to learn how to use them.
Yeah, might as well. Just get right to it. I don't like beating around the bush. So
all right, so quit beating around it. So what happened?
So by the time I get up there, I'm happy. It's about 9 inches around where I got my stand, So I'm only there like a half hour, and I look, and there's a huge doe and a fawn in the field, probably 60, 70 yards away, and they're working towards me, and I'm like, if they pass me in the field, did you get run over?
No, I'm okay. That was the second close call, but I'm all right.
So here comes this doe, and she's a contest winner,
Oh, yeah. One of those, yeah.
Her fawn's even big. And I'm like, I'm not shooting her because I'm not, I didn't do all this to shoot a doe. So she's coming, and I'm like, man, she's going to come right by my stand. Well, if she does, she's either going to run into my track because she's coming right down the edge of the field. Like she's going to be 9 yards.
Oh.
And I walked the last 50 yards, I walked right down the edge because there was a bigger gap. And I assumed that the deer wouldn't walk the complete edge. They usually walk a few rows in. So, I'm worried that I'm going to have to shoot her if she gets onto me. I think I'm trying to talk myself into it, but, I didn't want to shoot a doe. She comes to the apple tree. She eats under there for a minute at 10 yards, and then just takes off. So I don't know. She was upwind, but I looked at my phone a few minutes later, and I had a missed call, right then. So I don't know if my phone was vibrating in my pocket and I didn't hear it or something.
Maybe she heard it or something.
Because it was quiet. So I put it on silent after that. But so that made it easy. I didn't have to shoot her. So, which is a shame. But so nothing for about an hour, and I'm thinking, well, that's it for the night. Then I had a bunch of noise behind me coming out of to the south in that thick crap.
So you're on the if you're looking down the long food plot from the.
I'm on the right.
You're on the right.
Yep.
Okay, I know what tree you're in. Okay, I got you.
About halfway down, the huge apple tree that touches the edge of the field is right there.
Yep.
And that's what I figure I see castle. Full season, gun season. So.
Okay, proceed.
There's a brush hog trail about 15 or 20 yards in from where I'm sitting. So I'm thinking I'm going to be able to catch something. I'm kind of more hoping to catch something in there because it's tough when they're in the field to do anything with them,
Right.
So I had one coming from that way. I locked on. I could hear it for 5 minutes, Suspense is killing me. It was a good time. It comes out as a little 4-point. But it was pretty cool. Then he rubbed a bush for a while and snapped a bunch of crap off.
Nice.
So then, I don't know, 20 minutes went by and I could hear something across the field coming. And a doe and a fawn came out. Another nice doe, not as big as the first one. And then right away, just a nice little yearling 6-point came out with them. And they did the same thing. They worked their way right down the field. But before that, there was 2 more by the hardwoods that were acting all nervous and stuff. So I'm figuring, I don't know if they saw me or if that was maybe the 2 doe from earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But so the doe, a fawn, and a 6-point, they start feeding right down towards me too. And I'm thinking same thing's going to happen. They're going to walk past me. They're going to wind me or smell my track or something. I wasn't going to shoot this one. It was getting closer to dark, and she wasn't as big. But so she got to 10 yards, and I'd been watching her come right down the field. She stopped. She looked up and locked right onto me. I didn't even flinch.
Jesus.
So I'm in this little, I'll show you. I mean, it's a little tree.
Yeah, but still, nobody's ever sat in that tree before. You wouldn't think that they'd be.
You wouldn't think. But, so I just closed my eyes slowly and didn't move, and she gave up and she was satisfied. I've never really ran into that. So she started acting fine. The other 2 doe that were acting goofy by the woods, they came out right where the hardwoods meets that long, skinny food plot.
Mm-hmm.
They stood there for a minute, and then all of a sudden I hear something coming behind him. And, he had his head sideways coming through the trees, and he steps out, and I'm like, that's a big buck. So he didn't waste any time. He fed right across the long, skinny food plot, kind of angling my way. And all of a sudden he put his head down, grounded, and pushed that one doe into the goldenrod, and then he smart wheezed at her, which doesn't make any sense to me. So he's at 60 yards. I knew he was 60. He was in the goldenrod. I let 2 arrows rip at 50 before I went, and they were perfect. And then I let 4 rip at 30, and they're all good. So I'm confident. I practiced at 60 this year.
Yeah.
So he's just standing there. I'm just thinking about it. I really don't want to shoot that far, but I know he's 60. and I will shoot that far. Like, turns around and comes right in the field right towards me. So
Oh my God.
I'm sitting there because I think he wanted to check the doe that was right in front of me. So I'm sitting. I never stood up. I got my bow on my knee, and I got my right hand on my adjustable sight. You know.
Oh, I was wondering where you had your hand.
Well, that was where one of them was. So I moved it up to 50 when he ran in there. And then I held my hand on it, and he came right in the field, and it's like, well, I already know he's less than 50. So I bumped it down a little. And then he came a little more. I bumped it down to, I had it at 40. And I had this one spot ranged at like 36 where, I knew that spot in the beans. I ranged it before he came out.
Mm-hmm.
But he's angling right towards me. And he was under 40. So I moved my pin to 30, locked it in because he was coming just right at me. And he had his head down, he's walking, but I moved my hand from my sight towards my string so I could click on.
Yeah.
And then he saw me. So he locked onto me too. So he's facing me at like 38 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me the 2-minute stare down. I just closed my eyes. It's like, whatever happens, happens. Well, he started doing the head bob. And then he just broke to my left, and he was going right to that spot that I had ranged at 36. So he was doing the look out of the corner of his eye, but he wasn't looking at me, You know how they just try and get you to move?
Right.
He started
try
walking.
to dupe you into it.
Yep. He started walking. I go, I'll play right into his hand. He was broadside at 36. He was going right. He walked right into that spot that I ranged. So I had my pin set at 30, but I knew he was going to probably jump the string,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I should be good shooting him for 30. I drew while he was perfectly broadside. He never flinched. And I took a half a second to get the pin where I need it and pulled the trigger, and he lunged and turned, and, I took hair off the front of his back legs. Like, it was horrible. Like,
so he spun away.
He spun towards me. He took a step to the left and spun towards me.
Huh.
Like, I wasn't even close. So luckily all I did was take hair off his legs. Or I don't know if it was his belly or his leg. It was right in front of his back legs.
What buck was it, do you know?
I'm not sure, but I think it was the wide one. The really wide one.
The 10-point?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you would know if he didn't have long tines.
No, he didn't have long tines. He had just kind of normal G2s, and then up front they were short, but he had a big frame. Right. It was a big deer.
That's the big 10-point, or the big wide 10.
It's gotta be, but sometimes he looked like he was only like 21 inches wide, and sometimes he looked wider. So I was a little confused.
Well, yeah, I mean that's 20. Even if you think he's only 21 inside, that's still that's wide. Like, we don't see many that wide.
No, but you know what I mean. Like, sometimes when he put his head down and looked, he just looked like, I don't know. So
yeah, I think without the long tines, I think it's kind of deceiving what that deer is.
It might be.
I don't think he's ever really going to amount into much other than just being super wide.
So
he came out of the hardwood?
Yep, he came out of the hardwood.
And just wanted to see what was going on with the girls.
Yep. And he was pushing the does around. I don't get it. Because they shouldn't be.
It's early. I know.
We looked at Brad's camera card the other night.
Yeah.
And the big bucks that he's got on camera were all pushing does, like running them. Not so, it's normal to see a 3-point doing it this time of year.
Yeah.
But the big bucks don't do that unless they're sure.
Right.
Generally, you'll always see the little ones doing it, but
Right.
I don't know. So
That's
I'm
what
confused.
I was talking. So I talked to Greg Stanton. He shot that nice buck yesterday, and he said he walked into his stand yesterday afternoon. On his way in, there was two little ones. There was two does with a young buck pushing him around, and then he got up in his stand, and 2 days before he had seen the buck he ended up shooting. He had seen him in that area, so he suspected he would be in there. So he climbed up in the tree, and he was up in the tree for like 20 minutes, and he heard a real deep guttural grunt. And he pulled his binoculars up, and he actually spotted that deer bedded. He was bedded within eyesight of his stand, and just was laying down and grunting. Yeah. And as soon as the deer stood up at like 5:15 ish, and stood up and started heading right to where Greg was, and Greg was right near the bedding area where all the does were. It's like that buck was up on his feet at 5:15 yesterday. And like his buck, that's a good deer. It's a 3-year-old easily.
I don't
It's crazy.
know. I haven't looked at anything today.
You didn't see a picture of him?
No.
Oh. Well, you should go on the Pert Near Outdoors, and you'll see him.
I should check that out sometime. I'm kind of a big guy.
You are, and you're becoming a big deal in this social media world.
Yeah.
You're the one and only Trigger.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much are they breeding them right now?
I'm a little confused because I don't think they should be at all, but
No.
I mean, I don't know.
There's no breeding them probably, but are they feeding them? I'll bet you they're feeding them pretty hard.
Well, he was doing some grunting, so maybe he was trying to breed him, and I tried feeding him a rage, but
right. He wasn't eating.
Yeah. But they were hammering on the soybeans, and it's odd because the soybeans the leaves are like half green and half off.
Yeah.
This is usually when they don't even touch them soybeans.
Yeah. Well, those beans in the back, seem like they're behind. The main,
because
all the main beans.
Yeah. Dad's got most of the beans off already.
Right.
But so it's an odd time of year when the leaves go from green to brown. The deer usually lay off a little bit until the leaves actually fall off. Then they go out, and then because what they're eating all summer is the leaves. And then once the change happens, then they come out and actually eat the bean.
Yeah. But it's easier for them to get at the bean once the leaves are off, right?
I don't know if it's just maybe they
if it's the ease of it, or
or it's just I don't know.
There's just nothing better than listening to a deer run through the beans, though, is there? Like,
I mean, it's a little better when there's blood sprints everywhere, but
Yeah, well, when you hear the blood and them running and spraying, just maybe next time.
I heard.
You know what? You make me feel good about myself, and you should know that.
Well, that's what friends are for.
Yeah. So I appreciate you missing that deer and making me feel like I'm not alone.
Yeah. Yeah, because the way I described it was bad, but I can't imagine what an actual video of that would have looked like. I mean, it looked like I didn't even shoot anywhere near.
You want to know what? If you were probably shooting your old arrow setup that was like 15 feet per second faster, that thing would be probably in your hands right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know.
You just never know.
You just never know, Billy, but you got to be in it to win it, and if you're not shooting, you ain't killing.
That's right. Like old Wayne Gretzky says, you don't score the goals you're not shooting.
That's right. You ain't going to hit nothing if you don't shoot at it.
Yep.
Sometimes even if you do shoot, you don't get nothing, but, that's the game you play.
It is.
So.
All right, I got to wrap this conversation up. I got work to do.
Yeah,
I got to go
I'm pretty
inside.
busy. I'm gonna just
Yeah, you
hang
got
out
stuff you got to get taken care of too.
Yeah, and the things, and there's other stuff. But yeah. All right.
Yeah,
I'm
things
gonna
and
go
stuff.
kill some deer tomorrow.
Okay, good luck, and call me if you need my help.
It's gonna be raining in the morning. What do you think? What's your deer cast prediction?
My deer cast?
Sleeping?
I think you should go do some scouting. Is what I think you should do.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. And I want to actually move my stand to that soft maple and like trim it out.
Did you leave your stand up back there?
Oh, I left it. I wasn't taking that back down. I mean,
oh boy, it looks like it's gonna piss rain tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking you should go to that state land and do a little scouting there. Is what I was thinking.
Well, I could do that too. But I think yeah, I got a lot of plans, and the problem is I'm going to run out of time for all my good plans.
What are you doing Friday?
Killing deer.
Do you want to hunt with me Friday night at the state land?
Okay.
Maybe we'll go out there Friday evening. Do a little hanging hunt.
Okay.
Old shake and bake.
Little hanging hunt disaster.
Yeah. All right. You get out there and you if you do go out and wander around in the woods around the property tomorrow, take some memory cards and swap out my one in the front. Check that.
Yeah.
See what's going on.
Oh, by the tall hickory?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Love you long time.
All right. See ya, buddy.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Breedinum Radio, brought to you by Pertinier Outdoors.